Before I get to today's episode, I want to let you know about episode 300 of Bit Depth, which will be live. On March 19th at 7 p.m., you can watch me squirm amid the barrage of impossible questions that I subject my guests to. Then, you can ask me even more questions, right to my face, challenge my contradictory beliefs, ask for my stance on controversial topics, find out who my favorite Powerpuff Girl is. More details in the description. Theme music. Hello, and again, welcome to Bit Depth. I'm Santiago Ramones. Across from me is...
Jon McMillan.
Also known as...
It's Teflo Dollar. Is he the father? America's favorite U.S. Congressman.
So much a favorite that no one even elected you, but you're still here.
I know. That's the beauty of a capitalist country, you know. Nobody has to elect me. I just have to bribe people, you know.
Simple enough.
I got a hard drive just filled with just like dirt.
Blackmail.
Yeah, dude.
Who are you? What do you do?
I'm a stand-up comedian, record producer. I make my own records sometimes, you know. That's pretty much it, you know. I like to like joke around and tell people, "Oh, I'm a Renaissance man." You know, it's a cute little thing to say, but it's really just comedy and music stuff. Like, it's my bread and butter.
Yeah. Which I mean are like two sides of the same coin, I guess. You're still kind of acting into a microphone.
Yeah. It's the entertainment biz, as I say.
I guess which of these is your main priority, or is it even like, do you choose between the two or what?
Honestly, I definitely have to say comedy is my main priority, but it's like music is just one of those things. And I don't know, I'm sure maybe you probably relate to this as well, where it's like, it's just music is like who I am.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't get away from it even if I tried. It's like a reflex. So it kind of is like both at the same time, but it's like, you know, comedy is like less of a reflex. Like it's actually something I have to work on and work towards. So yeah, I guess comedy, number one.
Right. Well then let's start with music and then get into the bigger thing of comedy. So how did you first get started in music?
I mean, how deep do you want to go? We could go back to like origin story.
Yeah, please.
I grew up in like Brooklyn, New York, like before I moved here to Oklahoma, and like, you know, just as a kid, I used to play like guitar and drums, you know.
Okay.
And it's like, it's kind of one of those things. Like when we moved to Oklahoma, I stopped doing it. Like I moved here in 2001. Like about 2 years, 2 months before 9/11 happened. Like, and when we moved here, you know, the transition, I kind of just like, you know, got out of music. Like I just, you know, just stopped playing instruments and stuff. And that's honestly one of my biggest regrets, because I always think about like, if I would have just stuck to like, you know, playing like guitar and drums, I probably would have got more into drums than guitar. But just having both of those skill sets, I'm like, you know, I would have been a fucking badass right now. I would have been a maestro, dude. Would have been working on like my Prince type shit. Cause it's like, I play keys now, like a little bit. I've been like teaching myself, but I would have had the keys, the drums, the guitar, like probably would have picked up like some violin and shit, went crazy on them. But yeah, like, so I just kind of stopped, you know, but then when I was like 16, I got like into like, you know, songwriting, rapping and stuff like that. I didn't actually make my first like, you know, in studio record until I was 19.
Yeah.
And it was like after high school. I never went to college. So it was like after high school, I just, you know, have you ever had like a moment? Well, maybe, I don't know. I'm just going to ask you. Have you ever had a moment like after high school where you kind of have the, oh, what the fuck? Like,
oh, yeah.
You know, because you get used to just this routine, and that routine is your life. Oh, I wake up, I go to school, after school, fucking I hang out with friends, blah, blah. And then after you graduate, you're like, oh shit, like I gotta like be a person. I gotta be an adult now, you know? So like I've always been like a creative dude, you know. Like when I was in 8th grade, I had like my own little like comic book company, like and stuff. Like, and so I just kind of was like, what the fuck? I'm just gonna stick with what I'm good at. Like, so I'm gonna try this like rapping thing. And so I was doing that. I was rapping for like a long ass time. I had like 2 different rap groups, the Purple Mouth Bandits, Militant Minds, and got into producing, like not even really because it was something I wanted to do, but it was because it was like, it became like necessary because it's like, I wanted to work so consistently that I didn't want to be on producer's time, waiting for you to send me beats and all this stuff to run around. And, also, I was broke. So it was like, I can't afford to like, buy at the rate that I want to work and the rate that I'm pumping out, lyrics and songs and stuff like that. It's going to be a real big bill to try to like actually buy some beats for producers. So I started learning to make beats on my own and, just worked at that. And then, eventually just all of that just kept growing and growing. I became like a solo artist for a while, under the alias Teflo Dollar. And, as far as like my music career, that's probably been the most like, successful I've ever been in music. Like I'm like, oh, I got fucking 10,000 streams.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
And which it's crazy, especially in like today's day and age. We're just like 10,000 is like a big ass number. Like we can't fathom like, whoa, 10,000 people. Yeah, like that's a.
But like 10,000 streams is different from 10,000 album sales.
Right, exactly. I mean? But then, the difference is also like to Spotify, it's like, here's $1, like,
I think it's like $40 because I think every million streams is like $4,000. So 10,000 streams is like what, $40 because they'd like 100,000 streams would be 400. It's just, I don't know. It's robbery.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I was actually making a joke about, because you've heard the what's his face, Neil Young situation. I was making a joke about how it's like, bro, Neil Young would not have taken that stance if Spotify actually paid artists, because imagine if they were actually paying artists properly, and an artist of his stature, like the amount of like money that he would be giving up just to take this political stance. Like he probably would have been like, I don't like or agree with Joe Rogan, but I'm gonna keep this to the wine and cheese parties,
Yeah. But I mean, it's like what? $4,000? I'm losing $4,000 just to, all right, sure,
like, well, whatever. I imagine Neil Young, he probably, I would give him, he's probably getting like, I'd give him 40 million. So 40 million times 4,000, that would be, I can't do math right now.
But it's just a negligible amount.
Yeah, especially
to an artist like Neil Young.
Exactly. An artist of that caliber, like, come on, like, stop it. Like, but yeah, man. So that's pretty much like my music story and journey. And even today, like I produce like every day, one of the things I'm currently working on is like placements and stuff, like, just trying to like get some placements with some major artists.
And speaking of getting paid, like, I mean, that's how you really.
Yeah. Like, I just want to get that like back end, you know what I'm saying? Like, and like have like the royalty independence of like, oh, I can, make some back end producing because that's like one of my God-given talents that I can't ignore, but, do my comedy thing,
There is another question thread here, which is why Oklahoma? And then I don't know if you have a story of like just leaving New York and then 9/11.
Oh yeah. Well, first of all, it's like my grandma wanted to retire here. And my grandma, my mom, I make fun of them. I call them butt buddies, but you know, it's family. Like my grandma had my mom like super young, so they're very close in age, and it's like my mom and my grandma are like best friends. So like my mom, she used to be like an accountant, you know, in Manhattan, and my grandma was like, "Oh, I'm moving to Oklahoma. I'm retiring and moving to Oklahoma." And you know, at first my mom was like, "Oh, well, that's fine, blah, blah, blah." But then she started thinking about it. She didn't want to lose her butt buddy. So she was like, "Well, I guess we're moving to Oklahoma." It's like, dude, I'm a kid. I don't have a choice. What am I going to say? I'm like fucking like 11 years old. Like, I'm like, oh, I want to stay in fucking New York, you know? Like, I didn't, because as a child, I was also very like introverted and stuff. Like, I went to like this all black, like fucking private school. And like, I mean, I only had one friend. It was this dude, Malcolm. And, you know, pretty much outside of just going to school, all I did was like draw and play Sega and play music. Like that was it. So, you know, I didn't really care because it was just like, as long as I have these outlets, like it doesn't really matter where I'm at. And also on the 9/11 thing, I do remember where I was on 9/11. It was the weirdest thing ever. I remember I was getting ready for school. My parents used to drop me off because I lived out of school district. Statute of limitations. I could fucking tell the truth. Because when we first moved to Oklahoma, we lived in Del City, but
that's Spanish for of the city.
Really? Oh, lol. I never thought about that. Damn, I said lol out loud. Isn't that so gross? What the fuck is wrong with me? Let me spice that up. Lolacost. That's one of my favorite words. We lived in Del City, but like my mom like enrolled me in more schools, but like she like lied like to the school district and like because my aunt lived in more and she just said, "Oh, this is our house." Like fucking. So I remember they had like I couldn't ride the bus, so I had to get dropped off to school, right, to keep up the lie. Like yeah, and I remember I'm just sitting there. I you know you get the routine, and normally like I know like we're supposed to be leaving by now. Why aren't we leaving? So I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what are my parents doing? So like fucking I go and they're just like glued to the TV in horror, and like you just see fucking. You know, the towers, like just blah, blah, blah. And I like, you know, I think I was in 4th or 5th grade, like when that was a thing. And I understood like the severity of it, but also I didn't really because it was just like, you know, it was just like, oh, that like, it sounds fucked up, but it's like, oh, that sucks. You know, like
right.
that
Well, when you're a kid, it's just like stuff happens like this, I guess. Yeah. Which I mean, I don't know. We didn't know that like stuff like that doesn't happen, but like, I don't know. You're new to the world. You're like, I guess this happens.
Yeah, new to like really consciously thinking, you know. But yeah, that's pretty much my 9/11 story was being late for school because of it.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. I just think it's kind of crazy. It's like you leave. And then it happens.
No, you know, it's funny. Every time I tell people that I moved to Oklahoma in 2001, their first thought is, wow, did you move because of 9/11? It's like, no, we actually moved like right before 9/11. I know that would be a cooler story. Maybe I should that's the lie.
Maybe you should say that like your grandma knew 9/11 was going to happen. And so she was like, we got to get out of here.
My family is Caribbean, so that's a believable lie. I'm like, my grandma's a Caribbean clairvoyant shaman, and she felt in the air that we were going to go to war. For lies. Still you feed us lies? No, I'm just kidding.
Well, following these jokes, comedy. What drew you to comedy? How did you get started? Why even do it?
Comedy, I would describe it as like heroin, right? You've done heroin before, multiple times. Okay, so I like really, I've always been into comedy. Like I've always loved sketches, like. And stuff, you know, I used to be a big like Mad TV like fan, like Die Hard, and I always kind of was like, man, that's like something I want to do. Like, you know, as like a teenager, but like never knew the point of entry. Like, you know, like music, you know, the point of entry kind of, even if you don't fully understand, you know, I make a song, you know, I put it out there, like, especially in this day and age, because you say you're what, 26?
Yeah.
So I'm 31. Like, we kind of grew up in that internet era where we grew up in the era of music where
we picked it up as we went along.
Yeah, where it was like, oh no, we don't have to do all this bullshit that people had to do in like the 90s, like the record deal, artist development. Well, artist development isn't bullshit. It's actually criminal that there's less artist development today. But, you know, stuff like that. It was like internet shit. But you know the point of entry with music. With comedy, it's like, where do I even fucking start?
Right.
So it was just something that, you know, as I grew older, it just became like a bucket list thing that it's, you know, just an idea you entertain. It was like, oh, this is a cute thing. I'd like to do this someday, but don't know how. So what ended up happening was one night I went up to the Speakeasy. I don't know if you've ever been there. It's actually my favorite bar in the city. Shout out to them. I went up to the Speakeasy. It was like on a Thursday night. Like there was nobody there except for like the owners, the staff, and then this other dude. He was actually my friend, James Nem. He's a very funny comic, very seasoned comic. Shout out to James. Ran into him at this bar. We were like the only patrons at the moment. And, you know, I overheard him because he, like pre-pandemic, he used to throw all these like dope, like mixed like art/music shows at the Speakeasy. Yeah. Like all these crazy, interesting themes and concepts. Like one of them was, it was called 808 and Solid Snake. And it was, it was a total just Kanye Metal Gear Solid themed like art show. And it was fucking dope, dude. Like, so he's at the time he's like planning this show out. And I overhear him, you know, talking to one of the bartenders about how, you know, he's looking for some musical, like he just needs like one more musical act and he's having a tough time. So like my ass at the time, you know, I was like, well, I'm a musical actor. Do you enjoy rap music? Kanye West is my favorite artist. I have an auto-tune pedal. This will be a very appropriate show. So he like books me for that, you know. I schmooze my way into that gig. And then we get to talking, you know, outside of like, you know, business or whatever. And he mentions that he does comedy and stuff. So I start like picking his brain, like, you know, because this was where like, you know, where and how and why. So he invited me to an open mic and I go, okay. And going into it, my thing was, I just wanted to do, because again, I was mostly into sketch stuff. So if I was going to pursue comedy on a serious level, I kind of wanted to be more of like a YouTube, like internet type of comedian. But I did want to like dip my toes in stand up just for the story. Like that's how I like pictured it in my head. Like it was like, oh, I'm going to be at a wine and cheese party. And, you know, I'm going to be like, oh yeah, I did stand up comedy one time. And people are going to think I'm so cool and interesting and brave, you know. It's like I'm going to be someone who went to the Women's March who had a penis. But so I tried out the open mic and I just got addicted, man. Like I didn't think I would get addicted. Like I just got sucked into that world. And it was just all the elements. It was, you know, the sense of community. It was I like how hard comedy is, because one of the things that really pushed me was finding out that like legends bomb all the time. Like bombing is normal, right? Most people, like when they see like a Dave Chappelle or a Chris Rock, like they're watching like their specials and they're like, oh, they're fucking geniuses. This is probably all off the dome and all this stuff. It's like, no, this is written and practiced and worked on for years before they have that like couple nights where they film it and then put it out for Netflix. Like, you know, you could go see these guys at like the Comedy Cellar when they're trying new jokes and it's not hitting. You'll see these people that we hold in this amazing light bomb. And once I figured that out, you know, I was like, dog, like, I know this is something I could do, because if failing is a part of the job, you know, like, why would I be afraid, you know, to fail? Because that's the thing, like, it's so hard because you could simultaneously be good at it and bad at it at the same time. And that's also kind of what makes it fun, because it's like the endorphins you get when it does work. Oh my God, dude. Heroin, dude, I'm telling you.
Yeah. I mean, it's a similar thing to music, but honestly not in the same way, because you can be performing a song, and I mean, like, we've met through public access.
Yeah.
And so, like, you can be performing a song and it may be like really emotional and stuff, but you don't know what's happening until like afterwards, when like, oh, end of the song and people are clapping, you know. But like, good joke, immediate response. Bad joke, immediate not response. One question that kind of comes to mind: is there a good way to bomb? Because you sort of talked about how, like, you know, even the ones that are like good at it still bomb. How do you bomb well?
Ooh, that's actually a really good question, because I've had this conversation with like fellow comics about like how, okay, somebody who's on the level of like a Chappelle or a Rock, even their bombing looks different than, like, you know, people on our level. Like, their bombing, there is a professional way to bomb, and I know that sounds weird. I would just describe it as like, there's two things. Well, there's probably multiple things, but the two things that really come to mind here is, like, one, you can just act like it never happened, right? Because part of the thing is, you know, you could tell a joke, and if it doesn't work, just move on, like, confidently and smoothly. It doesn't have to be a big thing. A lot of comics make the mistake, or if they bomb, they like address it in the way of like, oh, well, that didn't work. And then they start to lose their confidence. And then that's like adding more like flame to the bombing.
Or like blaming the audience is like, oh, you guys don't like that joke. Screw you guys. And it's like, all right, you're just going to keep digging yourself even further in this hole, man.
Yeah. You don't like my joke about how I don't think women should vote? What do you guys like? It's like, but the second way is to quickly make a joke about the fact that you bombed. Like something clever, like a quip. So, you know, if you can't do the quick quip, you know, then just brush over it. Act like it didn't happen. Just move on. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think another part of the like misconception about comedy is sort of like how you talked about it, is like, oh, you know, people just go up on their specials and they're just doing this off the dome. It's like, no, there's a lot of preparation that's involved in like delivery and the order that you say the words. And so like, how meticulous do you specifically get? Because, you know, everyone has their own strategy, and it's like, all right, I have this kind of in mind, I have this kind of in mind. Or do you like script it out?
I definitely don't like script it out. I like, I'm like getting better at like writing. You know what I'm saying? I think writing has always been one of my weak points in comedy, because I've been doing it 4 years, but like I remember one time I had this conversation actually with, again, James, and I think I was like a year in. And I remember I started like a year, and I actually started like, people were reaching out to do these local showcases and stuff. And, you know, a year in is nothing. And I'm like, started to be like, oh, like, wow, like I'm like, this is happening for me so fast. Like a lot of people are, you know, pay attention to me so fast. But then like, I realized I'm like, I was just totally skating off personality. Like I really, my act had no jokes, but I was making people laugh just because I feel like I'm just a character. So that was just like good enough. But then I started realizing I don't have any actual jokes. And that's something I was like, no, I have to actually write jokes, but just use my personality to deliver them. So, you know, I like selling the joke, not a problem for me.
Sure.
You know, I always have this thing where I say I could sell snow to an Alaskan. You know what I mean? But it's like the writing. So usually what I do is I just kind of just write like, you know, punch for punch joke, and then just figure out a way to sell it on stage like that's not like, you know, like 80s, 90s, well, not even 90s, like more like 80s style comedy where it's just like, you know, set up, punch, set up, punch, like make it more conversational, make it more, like make it less predictable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's pretty much my style. I mean, I don't like, and even like the way I like write out my stuff, it's just a bunch of words. And as long as I just remember the meat of the joke, everything else is just kind of improv and just sell it. Like just, you know, just feeling out the room and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like even last night I did a show at the Living Room nightclub. And they actually like made me headline the show. Like I didn't even know I was headlining. I got booked for it last minute. Like the show was on Sunday. I got booked for it freaking Friday night. And then the dude who booked me was like, gave me all these tickets or like, gotta sell tickets. I was like, bro, you just gave me like 30 tickets in 24 hours. Like, what the fuck is like, oh, whatever, dude. I don't care. Like, oh, there's tickets here. That just tells me I'm going to get paid. Why not? Like, sure. I ended up selling 4 tickets, like, and I didn't even like, all I did is, it was my homegirl's birthday and we went out Saturday night and then saw people at the bar. I was like, hey, I got a show tomorrow. You want to buy a ticket? Like, you know, and so I do this show. They like make me headline it. And my first 3 minutes, I just fucking like while the show was happening, I was taking notes. Like I was taking notes like on the other comics who were performing. I was taking notes on, they had like some rapper, like musical guest, promoter dude, taking notes on him. He was like on stage for a while. And then for like the first like 3 or 4 minutes of my set, like I just used those notes like just to fucking just riff. And I basically I just turned it into like a roast where I was just, I called the promoter dude Dollar General Rick Ross because he looked and was dressed exactly like Rick Ross. They love that. I made fun of my friend Brandon, who was the host, because he's like managing like these 2 artists and he had them there. And I'm like, I love how Brandon is only managing white talent. He's like a 1950s basketball coach. And just little stuff like that, right? Like where it's like, just take some notes down so that I have a plan, but I'm not, you know, it's not like scripted like that. But there is like a plan to where it's like, okay.
Right. Well, because if you do script it out, then when stuff goes wrong, then it's like, all right, now where am I going? Yeah. And it's actually a similar thing to interviewing, actually, is that like I have my list of questions. I haven't really looked at my list of questions this entire time.
By the way, ladies and gentlemen, he's completely lying about that. He keeps looking at the screen and he has a lot of track marks on his arm. And I just think that should be known.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. Heroin once or twice. Just, you know, just try it. Right.
Fair.
So where does it connect for you? Music, comedy? I mean, I feel like there's just the thread of putting a bunch of words together and presenting it, but like, yeah, how does it connect?
What do you mean? Like, you mean like, are you asking like, does it like overlap in any way or?
Yeah, I guess the skills involved, like when you write a rap verse, you're doing a similar thing.
Yeah, no, honestly, yeah, it has opened up my eyes to make me realize that I think just like writing in general is my talent. You know what I mean? Or one of my talents. Because yeah, like when I like write a song nowadays, it's so crazy. Like because I've been practicing my joke writing, my song lyrics become more clever because there's that aspect of like a joke has to be clever, right? Yeah. Song lyric doesn't have to be clever at all, you know? But a joke has to be clever. So when I end up writing a song, the cleverness comes out, which makes for a better song. You know what I mean? Like at least like in hip hop and stuff, like, you know, the bars get more interesting and, you know, suck you in more, catch you with like the punchlines more. Yeah. As far as like music translating to comedy. I wouldn't say like the actual art form does, but the business does too. Like doing like music, be like in the music business for like 10 years prior, like to doing comedy. Oh man, I circumvent like a lot of like bullshit that, you know, some comics might be lost on. Like, you know, I'd be like, oh, like that motherfucker's industry talking, you know, just like shake his hand and walk away. Not gonna fall for this bullshit. I've seen that before. Or, you know, I could like tell and smell bad business when I see it, and just things of that nature, you know?
Yeah. Actually, just to give people a heads up, what are like one or two telltale signs of like this homie's out to scam me?
Well, it's not necessarily like a scam, but like, you know what I mean by like industry talk, right? Like when you meet somebody at some event and like both of you guys know like you aren't really gonna fuck with each other, but like, you know, that person's like, for the sake of like small talk, like try to, oh yeah, dude, we're gonna hook up, we're gonna do this and we're gonna do that and blah, blah, blah. You know, some people, they take that for face value, you know, like, and I know the difference when somebody's like just saying it just because it's like, oh, there's a small talk, like fake networking thing versus, oh, this is actually somebody who like wants to get some real work done. Yeah. Because the people who want to get real work done, they will like pretty much set up most of it right then and there. Like they'll get your email, they'll fucking email you right there off the phone, like they're ready to work. The other people, they just want to say, oh, blah, 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 oh, we'll hit you, blah, blah, blah. Like, hey, follow me on Instagram. Like, they won't even, like, try to get your phone number. They'll be like, oh, just follow me on Instagram and DM me. It's like, nigga, you just try to get a follow. Like, shut up. Like, you know. So that's I don't know. That's the telltale, I guess.
Yeah, and those are the people that, like, as I scroll through my followers, I'm like, what the? Wow, who are you? So I guess some broader kind of questions surrounding, let's start with comedy. Who are your role models as far as comedians go? You've named Dave and Chris Rock, obviously, but
the GOATs, dude. Bill Burr is actually he's up there for me too. I love Bill Burr. I love him. You know, I feel like it would be like, you know, heck, it'd be like Richard Pryor. So, because all honesty, I watched some of Richard Pryor's stand up and I liked it, but I really loved like the documentary about like his life story. That was more like interesting to me. I really like Bill Hicks. Ooh, no, Sam Kinison. Sam Kinison, I love, because I like guys who like yell a lot. I'm not gonna lie. I'm into like yelling comedy. Yeah. Like yelling, angry. Like Bill Burr does that like a lot. Like Sam Kinison is like one of the godfathers of that. Like, as far as like, there's like comics today that like really inspire me, like Andrew Schultz, you know. I really like him because he's just, his crowd work just so spontaneous and so just like tastefully done. But Tim Dillon, bro, he is my fucking hero. Like that guy is just insane. He's just like this white, fat, like gay Irish dude from New York who's just so funny, dude. Just look him up, man. He's fantastic. I like obviously really dirty comedy. Like to me, that's the funniest stuff. There's also like a weird, just like in everything, like, you know, even in music, there's always like a cultural war of like, sure. You know, you have like in music, you'll have like, oh, like, I use analog equipment and real instruments. You fucking auto-tune losers. Oh, you make music on a computer? You're not a real like, yeah. You know. In comedy, there's kind of that thing too with like, you know, oh, like, you know, dirty comedy like needs to die because it's offensive, and oh, punching down is bad and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I just always, anytime somebody comes to me with one of those type of like weird arguments, I just walk away because I'm like, I don't even have the energy to kind of even explain what I'm going to explain here to those people in these moments. It's like, I just kind of look at it just like music, where it's like, why can't we all just exist in this space. There's genres. There's genres of comedy. Like you could be a super clean, and super positive comic. I'm not hating on what you do. You could be an alt comic. You could be a comic who's like, one of those like musical comic, kind of like Bo Burnham or something like that. Like I'm not like, like why can't we just all exist? Like that's one thing that has always annoyed me, like about everything. Even in music, I've always hated that. Like the old school musicians versus, the tech musicians, and I don't listen to that rap crap, but then they love country music where they're fucking putting just trap beats over fucking like country core. Like it's just
it's all the same.
I don't know. Like what you like, dude. Just don't criticize the way I want to do the art. That's just
sure. There is also a level of like reading the room though as well. And if like, if you're in a room that doesn't seem to be going for your dirty comedy, have an exit strategy and like so I mean I like I was talking to a friend about this as well. It's like I have really sad like bummer songs, and it's like if I can tell that like the gig that I'm signing up for is not necessarily that kind of vibe, I'm not going to play all my bummer songs. I need to like play to the room.
No, that's very true. I mean, even like, okay, so last night, that gig, right, it was a mostly black audience. Like it was a mostly black room. So one thing like I know about like my people, right, is like there's certain jokes that like, bro, if you're in a black room, just take that off the set list. Like black people don't want to hear any weird sex shit. Like they don't want to hear like, oh, so fucking... dude, I found my girlfriend's dildo. Like, don't say dildo in front of a black audience. They don't want to hear anything. I hate to say it, but it's true. They don't want to hear anything like gay. Like they don't and not necessarily like dissenting on homosexuality or like the other way. They just again, don't say the word gay. Don't make any, like thing like that. And I mean, really shit like that. If you stay away from that and you just have good, solid jokes, you're going to win a black room, but you got to read the room. And even in comedy, like what they call a black room is literally the hardest room in comedy. Like that's like a thing that comedians like, no, like I want to do a black room because I want to see how sharp my sword really is, because black people don't laugh at shit. Like white people, they'll laugh at like anything. Yeah, I said it, crackers. Black people, you gotta earn that laugh. Like, and if you're like talking about dogs licking peanut butter off of your dick, like you're not winning that battle. But yeah, so you do have to read the room, absolutely. But like also. I had this you said that we met at Public Access. Did you ever know Jamie Clark?
Yes.
Me and him one time had this like fucking fake philosophical debate about comedy, about the whole different styles. And I was just like, bro, I would argue that like darker, more offensive humor is harder to do, because the problem isn't the topics. The problem is when you venture off into that, it has to be tighter. Like, whereas if you're going into more lighthearted topics, yeah, like you could not necessarily be lazy, but it's like, it doesn't have to be as tight, right? Like if I'm making a joke about going to the grocery store and, tripping and knocking over like a whole section and stuff and being embarrassed, I could be a lot more loose. But if I'm like making a joke about like the Holocaust, that shit better be tight. Like that can't just be up there like, that shit. And I like, that's the part about it I like. And that's why I like some of the names that I've named, like these are people who make jokes about real and hard subjects, but have made it funny. Even so much so that like, people will be like, oh, they're so like philosophical and stuff. Because people end up doing more than laughing from what they said, And to me, that's the type of artist I want to be.
Yeah.
So I'm not afraid, again, to fail. Like if I'm bombing, like telling some joke that I'm working on that may be rooted in something dark, like I don't like, I'm going to fix it. I'm going to keep working on it until it's, you know, right.
Rather than being afraid of it and never finessing it.
Yeah. Like, and then like, you know, people don't want that though. They'll assassinate your character for it. And it's like, dude, like this is an act. Like I'm a decent person, I think, maybe, I don't know. But you know, I just like that style.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And like you're working on it, both in the sense of like finessing it so that it's palatable, even though it's dark, but also working on it as in like learning what people are reacting to. And so it's like, yeah, you are actually like, listening to people and like figuring out what they will and won't laugh at. So, I mean,
and sometimes you have to know when to quit too. Like, you know, like you can't be so married to your ideas. Like if I'm trying to make a joke like about fucking a school shooting funny and it's just not working, then just fucking stop doing it. Yeah. You know? Yeah. Like, but if it works, like if I'm building it and, you know, as you say, finessing it, then yeah, I'll like keep it in the set list. Like, but it's like, I'm not gonna fucking be telling this joke that's doing poorly for like 2 months and like try to keep the faith. Like, I'm gonna make you laugh at Sandy Hook, mother. Like, no, like it's like, yeah, it's not working. It's fine. Yeah. Let's all move on with our lives. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, it's fine. Switching gears, and because we're already in like a philosophical type area, just getting into the deep questions that make bit depth. What is the role of spirituality or religion in your life?
Honestly, dude, I'm still trying to figure that out. I know a lot of people say this very hecky, oh, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. Sure. But I mean, that's really kind of the truth. I do believe in a higher power. And I do actually, in a lot of ways, like see how, you know, the higher power is working like in my personal life. But I also haven't really figured out like a way of like, you know, like devotion or whatever, even know how, like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. It's a journey that I'm still trying to figure out for myself. But I do think, you know, I do like, there is a guy, like, I'm not like, I don't just think like, I do think we are like, you know, just like molecules and shit, but two things can be true. I like, that's one thing I've never understood is like the scientists versus the religious people. I'm like, what? Why can't you be a scientist and a spiritual?
Yeah, it all informs
person? That's
each
so
other.
Weird. Like,
yeah. What did you grow up with?
Christianity. Not really sure like the brand of it. I don't know, but I grew up like in Christianity, and like for like a while, like I just was like, you know what I'm saying? And I remember when I was like 18, I was like almost an atheist.
That's about the time to do it.
You know what I'm saying? Like almost. It's like, But then I don't know. It's like, because what it was for me, it was like the church itself that turned me off, but not really the, you know, beliefs and the principles and stuff. And then again, another hacky thing, I took fucking psychedelic drugs. Yeah. And, you know, experiencing, you know, the spirit realm from that perspective, very interesting and very like opened up my eyes to stuff. But yeah, I grew up, you know, just Christian, fucking American black family.
Oklahoma.
Selling their souls to Jesus. Oh yeah, that's another thing about black audiences. You can't make any dissenting jokes on Jesus.
That is something. Whenever I encounter a black person who seems to be willing to foray into this topic, tell me about Black Christianity and why the people have adopted the religion of the colonizer.
I mean, I don't feel like I'm really qualified to answer that question, like in like a real way, but I can tell you what I think.
Sure.
What choice did they have?
Sure.
I mean, that's really the way I look at it. It's like, you know, when you're forcibly took it for your home country and, you know, you don't know any better, especially like generations of people just being raised without, you know, education and things like that. And also, you know, being tortured and like all the pain, you know, now you're like searching for some kind of hope. And now you're like just vulnerable to like anything that will just give you like a sense of like, this will be okay. You know, because I know there are like a lot of like African, like ancient religions that like are more, you know, like down to the earth, like almost like similar to like Native American practices and stuff like that. But, you know, like you said, I like how they use the word colonizer. It's like, really, what choice did they have? You know, it's not like, and a lot of us, like American blacks, like I say us, motherfucker. I'm a first generation fucking dweeb who, you know, didn't grow up in the civil rights era. Like, that's what I'm saying. I don't feel like I'm like qualified. I feel weird talking about this because this is some real shit. Like, you know, and I don't want to like misword it like and sound like an idiot. But
this is also from your perspective. There's nothing you're saying here. You're not speaking for anyone else.
Yeah.
This is your perspective.
Yeah, thank you for reassuring me of that. Sometimes I forget that, especially in front of a microphone. What choice did they have? I mean, that's all I like. That's like the main thing. Like, you think about the history of the American black person, and it's like a lot of us didn't like know our African roots at all. It just knew our slave roots, you know? So it's like, that's why, you know, like when black people start learning about their roots, they're learning about true African history. When they learn about this stuff, it's almost like the Matrix. It's like they took the pill and then their fucking eyes open, and then, you know, that's how Hoteps are born, you know, like, because it's just like, once you like abandon the colonized thinking that was programmed, you just realize like, oh, like there is something out there that's different, that like, that is me and of like who I am.
Yeah.
But originally you didn't have a choice. And again, another Matrix reference, you kind of have to want it. You know what I mean? Like, because there's a lot of like black folks who are just like, they're just fine with whatever their life is or whatever they know of their history. And it's just like, it is what it is. Like, yeah, nigga, I'm a Baptist. Like, my daddy was a preacher. No.
Sure.
And that's just it. And they're just fine with that. And honestly, that's fine too. But to answer your question, I just think that's the reason. I just think it was just the history and the lack of choice in the programming, you know?
How do you determine what good behavior is?
Like in general?
Sure.
Oh, wow. This one is a thinker. I don't know. That's a really hard question because, you know, I feel like, you know, good and bad is kind of subjective. Like, I feel like as long as it's not hurting or like destroying somebody's life, maybe, I don't know. No, that's too over. I mean, that's too simple. That's like, I don't know.
But it's also not like a high bar, right? Like,
yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. Like, it's like, I don't know. Good behavior. I define good behavior is using heroin on the regular, not paying child support, having a family on the side is big. That's phenomenal behavior. Actually, you know, when I was a kid, I really wanted to be a mega church pastor with a family on the side. Like, that, to me, that's like the best behavior. What else? I thought like the creation of anthrax was great behavior. You know, I thought that was great. I think also good behavior is beating up Asian Americans because of COVID.
Yeah. And I mean, but like what I'm saying is like it's a low bar, right? Like you just have to not hurt other people is what you're saying. Yeah.
That's a hard question. I don't know. I feel like that's a question I would really have to think on to like come to a real answer. That's like a thinker. That was a bit deep.
Yeah, there you go. That's the pun. You did it. How do we reduce the division between people?
Ooh. Actually, this is something, I don't know, because this is something I feel like I have thought about. This too is also a bit of a thinker. But this is something I've thought about previously. I think to reduce the division, first of all, reduce is a great word because I don't think there will ever be not bad. And I think that's just a law. Like, you know, yin and yang, negative, positive, good and evil. Like everything has to work like that. But as far as division, man, I think it's mostly education, right? Like not necessarily like forcefully integrating people, but kind of like spoon feeding information, like to just stop that shit. Because I've seen it like even in my own personal life. Like when I used to live in New York, I grew up around all like blacks and like Puerto Ricans and shit, like all blacks and Hispanics. And I would never see white people until like if my mom couldn't get like my grandma to watch me or something, like she would take me to her job. And like my mom was like one of the only black women working in this mostly white fucking office. And that was the only time I would ever see white people. Like, it's like I said, I went to an all black private school. You know, my neighborhood was like mostly Spanish and, you know, like blacks and stuff. So like when I first moved to Oklahoma and I started going to school in fucking Moore, dude, I was culture shocked as shit. Like, and in the same way, you know, you've seen like, you know, white people who are like, they may be a little bit, I wouldn't even use the word racist because there's a difference between racism and ignorance, right? Like racism is willful. You know what I mean? Like ignorance is just like, man, I don't know any better, but so I'm trying to protect my ass. So like you end up kind of looking like weird, you know, locking your car door when you when you see like fucking, you know, somebody who's not white.
You touch your hair?
Yeah. See, ignorance, right? Like that's not even that crazy of a concept, but you know, just don't know any better. I think so it's like I was scared of like white people, you know, like especially moving here, like very like scared, like because of course, motherfucker, I'm like reading like all this crazy shit, like in history. You know? It's like, so I'm thinking, bro, I'm dead. And then we come to Oklahoma, fucking bumfuck Egypt. I'm like, oh my God, everybody's calling me the N-word. Every single. And then look at me now. I got hella white homies. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've dated white women, like, and stuff like that. Like, and it took like learning that it's like a person thing and not a group thing, right? And I've seen that happen with, you know, white folks where they're like, they have these preconceived notions of like, you know, black folks or, you know, other groups, but then they actually get integrated like around them. And not like aggressively and like forcefully, you know what I'm saying? It just kind of like spoon fed to the point where, you know, their mind opens up on its own. And, you know, then it like changes their whole, you know, perspective. And I think that's really the main thing for everybody.
Cool. Where do you think humanity is going towards in the future?
Man, I really don't know. I honestly don't have my own opinion on this. Everybody talks about like the AI stuff and you know how like fucking, you know, like NFTs and crypto is like going to take over. It's going to be the whole thing. I mean, I see it happening, but I can't really tell you what I foresee in the future because I never really thought about it, man. Like not like that far ahead. You know, I'd be thinking about like my own bullshit in like 5-year increments. So I don't know. Let's have some fun with this. I think 100 years in the future, I think that'll be like kind of like BoJack Horseman, where it's just going to be like a bunch of dolphin people and like all kinds of spliced animals walking around, mixing in with humans. Like people are going to be on like dating apps and it's like, oh, dude, I just matched with this very hot fucking terrier chick, dude. Hell yeah, dude. I'm going to put peanut butter on my dick. She's going to suck it real good. I think, you know, flying cars are going to be a thing. I think Elon Musk is going to live forever. And he's going to actually imprint like his face on the moon as like a Zordon figure where he's like talking to Earth from the moon. I do think we will figure out the climate thing. Like I'm not like so gloom and doom of like, oh, like the world's going to end. I mean, yeah, there is a lot of data against that, but you know, optimism.
Yeah.
Folks.
Yeah. Well, that's actually my follow-up question to that, which is, what are you optimistic about for our future or your future if you don't even want to think that far ahead?
Like a humanity thing? Honestly, this is how I've always looked at us. And just from just studying history, it's just like history repeats itself. Like we feel like it's gloom and doom because we're in it. Mm-hmm. But like, I just think the same type of shit is going to cycle in different ways for like millions of years, you know, until it doesn't. Yeah. I mean, really. Yeah.
Yeah. Unless we're the last one.
Remember, kids, optimism. Do not listen to this heroin addict.
Once or twice, man. It's 2 or 3 times. What makes you content?
Like, I hate, like, because I feel like everything I'm about to say just sounds like a fucking, like one of those, like, picture frames that you get from Walmart with, like, a hacky quote. Like,
yeah, that's, but, like, the reason those are best-selling items in white women's homes is because they have a level of truth to them.
Yeah. Really, honestly, what makes me content, like, and here we go, drum roll, hacky thing, is just being alive and being able to, you know, have a shot to, you know, accomplish what I want to accomplish. Yeah. You know, being pretty much able-bodied. You know, because honestly, one of the things that like really like makes me sad, man, is when I see like a like special needs person or like you know, somebody like who's like paralyzed or something like that. Like it, like I just be like, man, I can't be complaining about my life because, you know, even though I be going through shit like, nigga, you're able-bodied. I think a lot of people take being able-bodied for granted. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like nobody really thinks about it like that. It's just like, oh, like, you know. You
don't have to be like worried about stairs.
Yeah. You know? And so I'm just happy that, you know, that like, you know, that's what makes me content. I get a shot, man. You know, I get a shot.
Mm-hmm. When will you be satisfied?
I don't know, dude. Probably never. I you know, I do the self-lie. You know, I'll be satisfied when I have like 3 million cash in the bank and like enough assets to I'm pretty much making like 60K a month, like chilling on my ass. Like that's a lie. I know it's a lie. I'll be satisfied when I find the love of my life and we have like a family and stuff. Lie, because, you know, again, I still need my second family on the side, and that's the true satisfaction.
Right.
But then even $3 million that's in the bank,
you build up your mega church, and then you got the family on the side.
Once I get that second family aside, I'm gonna want a third family on the side, you know? I mean, I hope I become satisfied, but I really doubt it because, again, another hacky clue, I don't think anybody ever is. But I don't know. Some people are. Some people find that inner peace, like in you know, their lives. And I think I will, but who knows? Yeah. Who knows when?
It's all good. What advice do you have for people in general?
Drink water, do heroin, as much as possible, but don't ruin your life over it. Like, you could be a recreational heroin addict. No, I'm just kidding. Let me
like Santiago over here.
Yeah.
He only does a little bit of heroin.
Advice I have for people, man, is just keep good folks around you and just work hard, man. Keep good folks around you. Work hard. Be passionate. Mm. I'm a big passion guy, you know. Yeah. I'm just a big, just fucking gay, you know. Like, just passion. Just, I don't know. Be passionate. Keep good people around you. I'm going to pass this off because my mom told me this. Like, no matter what you do in life, it doesn't matter if you are somebody who euthanizes dogs, like, for a living, euthanize those dogs to the best of your ability. You know, just work hard, be passionate, drink water, do heroin, love each other. Stop being ignorant, stop being afraid. But also, you got to know the difference of, like, okay, that guy totally has a fucking Nazi fucking or swastika on his face. Like, yeah, and we ain't trying to change his mind at all. You know what I'm saying?
Protect yourself, be a little safe.
Yeah, but also don't let in being safe that turn into ignorance.
Cool. Lastly, potentially most importantly, cake or pie?
Pie all day. Well, actually, no. I said that too quick. Because actually,
well, what's your thought process here? It's like, are you thinking?
I'm not really a cake guy unless it's cheesecake, and cheesecake is the only type of, like, I would go cheesecake over pie. But any other type of pie or any other type of cake, nah, dude, pie all day.
So this is where you're in luck. I've been asking this question for a long time. It's come to a general consensus that cheesecake is pie.
I've never heard this.
If you define, like, pie, like, what is a pie? It's like a creamy filling or, like, you know, some sort of filling. And then a pie crust, which is like crumbly or graham cracker, or it could be chocolate or whatever.
I see it now.
That's just straight up cheesecake. So cheesecake is just a misnomer. Cheesecake is pie.
Okay, well then pie it is.
Yeah, there you go. And I mean, I usually ask, like, what is best pie? But, like, yeah, what is best cheesecake then?
Yeah, I'm a big cheesecake guy. I really don't like sweets that much in general, but sometimes I get in the mood and, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, cake, I've never been a cake guy.
Jon, thank you so much for doing this with me. Where can people find you and your things?
At Jokes by Jon on pretty much everything.
Sweet. Awesome. Once again, thank you so much. I'm Santiago Ramones.
Jon McMillan.
And now here's Red Winter by Teflo Dollar.
Trapping out a $6 hotel.
She know me. Josh out playing games like OT. Chick chicken ass moving like poultry. With business here getting that money. Little shawty really think she got me. Put jokes on you, it's an IB. Jokes on you, it's an IB. Radioactive, so you toxic. You threw me to the wolves when you saw me rock the wood. Oh, had to double down, I'm a wolf in some wolf clothes. If it's that, then let it in on a good note. Looking to the sky like, good lord, bellow in the leaves, and I see it in the snow too. Searching for a substance, only find tofu. Gotta look within, cause I know it's just a me. Prime temperature is colder and I need fire.
Winter is coming, see the leaves falling from the trees. I'm searching for substance. You did me dirty like all the trees, and can't tell you nothing. She never listens to voice of reason. Hope you're not suffering, cause winter is coming.
We in a place so cold, 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 cold. I see the red in the snow, 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 snow. We in a place so cold, 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 cold. I see the red in the snow, 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 snow. authentic. How you stand on that fake shit, damn, that's prosthetic. You gon' do you, yeah, I get it. We all live real lives, fuck a Oculus. My options is lead, don't rock with the populace. Most likely they about to follow this. I'm on daddy duty, nigga, I father this. I got wings and they jumping with harnesses. Told them it's a red winner. No, I'm about to eat like I never had dinner. Excited for this gift like I never had criminal. But my shit stink and my instincts on killer. I could never feel her unless it was in a villa. She talking in a pillar and flipping houses on Zilla. I need restorative feeling, so I'm ignoring the filler. I love it when you gas me, I never had to fill her.
Go, 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 go. You see the red in the snow, 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 snow. I'm in a way, so go, 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 go. You see the red in the snow, 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 snow.
Winter is coming.
You can find everything that I do on my website, santiagoramones.com. I make music and produce audio. The music you're hearing now is music I made. You can listen to official releases by Santiago Ramones on Spotify, Apple Music, and the other streaming places. Or you can support me directly by buying my music on Bandcamp. I'm working on Hypothetical, my first singer-songwriter album, so if you'd like to hear that at some point, there are lots of ways to support me on my website. There's a Discord server in which we discuss deep topics from the podcast, but it's also a community of beautiful human beings. All the links to all my things are on my website, santiagoramones.com. Please take a moment to rate and review the podcast. It would mean a lot to me to hear what you have to say, and it lets others know what to expect, better than I could ever explain. I want to help the world have deeper conversations, so thank you for listening to and supporting Bit Depth. I was in the podcast with my 3 things. They shape my life philosophy. Those 3 things are love never fails, it's going to be okay, I might be wrong.